Hello, Internet. So I've been playing Palworld for a little while, and I'm getting ready to put it down again. And I think because I'm getting ready to do that, it probably makes sense for me to just show off some hints, some ideas, and just show off the world that I have. I'm level 60, beaten all the tower bosses. I've done one raid boss, or kind of one and a half, two versions of the Bella Noir raid boss. And yeah, I think I'm ready to put it down until there's more content available. So, let's head into my world, assuming that... Okay, good. I was worried that the game might... I just changed resolutions to do the recording here, and I was worried that it might not work. But I think it's working. We're about to load in. Probably. Yes. Okay. So I moved over to the starting area just to do this. Like, I think you actually spawn in somewhere around here, maybe? Something like that. Anyhow, but yeah, you have a quick run up to this area where you kind of have this beautiful, I'm entering the world, I can see lots of cool stuff in the distance. Most of it's implemented. That tree area is supposed to be the end of the game, and it's not done being implemented. You have somebody here who just will give you a few things. I don't know if he'd still give me some things. Level 60, late game. Okay, yeah, he's not giving me more stuff. But you enter around here, and one of your first duties is to figure out where you want to put a base. Some people will plop it right up here near the top. I think I've played through Palworld 4 times, not generally to the end game. That's only been with this playthrough, but pretty far twice. And I like to put my first base right around here. Like, I know that you're right by a free fast travel point, but this is just a really good spot. You have some stone, some wood, some ore. Generally, if you plop your PAL box right here, then the PAL stone stuff over here is out of... where was it? I'm sure it was here somewhere. Here. This is a little bit out of range, but this is open enough that you can put a lot of good early stuff down. You do have to worry about accidentally pissing off the Mamarest. If you get raided and some spare attacks happen to hit that guy, he'll come in and smash up your stuff. And at low levels, you're not going to be able to handle that. But otherwise, I think this is a great first base location. You're going to have a lot of bases, and ideally you tweak the game world settings to bump your max number of bases up well beyond the default. But this is just an area where for the longest time my main base was here. Now, once you've explored a little further, you will find... Actually, this is like mid-game. In mid-game, this is my favorite base location. I know some people might prefer this to be an area for raid battles or something like that, but in my view, this is just generally a great, if quirky, place to put a base. Now, I haven't cleared this out yet. I've repurposed this area to be just kind of a home and a resort for pals that are unhappy. So I have 2 of these, what are they called again? They are high-quality hot springs. 2 is kind of enough because, unfortunately, there's a quirk in the game where pals, when they're not feeling well, if you throw them into a hot spring, they'll stay there for just a little bit and they'll hop out. They'll regain a good amount of sanity, but not enough. So you're going to have to stay on them and keep throwing them back in when they leave until they're really, like, fully recovered. Did I leave some food out? Yeah, I guess I left some food out. There's nobody in here right now. I'm going to put some food into my guild chest. But this I just think it's nice. I love the Japanese decor. Once you unlock that, it's a really nice, attractive way to have a home. Like this place is kind of empty. I probably would decorate it further if I were committed to coming here more often. But yeah, I have a little bit of food. I have 2 beds, but I don't expect them to spend much time in bed. 2 high-quality hot springs, and a guild chest. The main reason guild chests are nice is that they just give you a place to store things independent of all your bases, and nothing rots there. So if you just toss all your uncooked foods you're not using at the moment, or just anything that you might want to have access to in a lot of bases. The other thing is if you drop one of these in a base, have no other chests, then pals will drop stuff off into your guild chest. And that can be nice. But yeah, I used to have a whole lot of infrastructure. The downside of this place is that the floor hitbox is kind of wonky, and so it's not always going to be easy to put down supports for structures. Also, sometimes structures get really stuck. Like this is stuck. This was a pillar. It wasn't actually providing support, but it also proved not to be removable. So that is frustrating. A little bit of a bug there. Oh, wait, did I not go to sleep? I didn't go to sleep. Yeah, it's nighttime. Yeah, this was, apart from the quirks, you're going to have trouble putting anything near the middle of the base. Not that you should. But you'll be dealing with floor hitbox problems and finding ways to provide enough support for the structures you build. But you can do a lot here. And one of the fun quirks is that a PAL Expedition Center actually can be placed kind of wedged up on top of these things, and it won't take up any ground floor or ground space in your base. You will have to use a grappling hook to get up here, but it's worth it because those things just take up way too much space. Although there's all sorts of fun tricks you can do with that to reduce the problem. The other mid-game and onwards base that I still use is my breeding base, and this one I'm actually using it right now. I know that there's ways to produce much more dense breeding bases. Generally, I prefer to have 3, because just having more is a little bit much to manage. I was thinking about building another one, and I have another partially built one that's gigantic, but I'm not sure. I never liked it enough to finish it, but I never decided it was a really bad idea enough to get rid of it. No, Stronghold Strategist is not that great. You can do 4. I like to have 3. Now this is a raid boss that you can get, Bella Noir Libero. They have some PAL species. They have a gender, a non-50-50 gender balance. So you have to think about that when you're trying to improve them. Generally, you're going for good passive traits and good stats. I'm not really seriously breeding because I'm getting ready to put down the game. But oh, you have nice stats. Yeah, but I just started breeding these because it's the Bella Noir Libero has, I think, some of the very best stats in the game. But it is endgame content. At least for now, it's endgame. I know that they'll probably eventually add a lot more content. But this is the world as it is right now. And I think that the big tree is supposed to be somewhere out here. That's the end game, but I'm not sure how much more they're going to be adding. Like, are we going to get a lot more lands or just a few more lands? This is the area that I'm. This is an area that I was thinking about making a very large-scale breeding base. Now it would have to be vertical because the breeding areas are not very efficient. So I thought, let's make it cool. So I took this area, which is normally just a little rock overhang, and I'm starting to build downwards to get support. And so I would be building a whole bunch of levels here, and I could put the breeding things on top of these. The downside is it takes a lot of time to build these supports, like quite a lot of time. And that's kind of a pain in the butt. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it just, you're going to be spending a whole lot of time climbing up and down and building pillars to support the stuff that you build on various levels. And I think that kind of turned an idea that I initially had a lot of enthusiasm for into an idea that's like, this is a real pain in the butt to implement. Anyhow, my team now changes reasonably often based on what I need at the moment. But this is what I'm using right now. There's a Nightmare, which I initially thought was going to be a really good pal to farm souls with. The passive on it is pretty nice. The problem is that very few pals drop pal souls, and very, very few pals drop pal souls that are not of the trivial kind. So it's not actually that useful. I'm still going to level it up to level 60 and then put it away. I have oh, what are these called? Wait, why did I do that? No, I did not want to put that away. Darn it. Come back. I'll just pull it out. Nope, not you. Frostallion, I think, is the name of this pal. Unfortunately, I didn't really know very much. I only recently spent the time learning, reading online about how to manage and breed for good pal stats. So a lot of my pals actually have kind of cruddy stats. The Frostallion is cruddy, 62, 23, 63. That's just painfully, it's a little below average. Right now I have just a Noir Libero that is, I'm just going to keep on using the Pal Doctor on her to get her good passives to breed into the breeding pool. Everybody has a Gale Claw because it's one of the best gliding pals for combat. You can just move around in any area really, really quickly with this. The Gale Claw doesn't actually have much in the way of interesting passives, because none of the movement passives actually increase their movement speed. So I just wanted to go with, doesn't eat too much, gives me a boost in attack and defense. And I think this is passive, so you get it even when the pal isn't out. But you can see that I didn't bother to boost the soul level here. It's at +0, just because I'm never going to be battling directly with this pal. And then Yorvund is a oh fudge, what is the name of that thing? Do not have the names of all the pals internalized right yet, but I think it's near the end here somewhere in the number-based sort. Yeah, Jetragon. This is a pretty good Jetragon. It has Legend, Swift, Eternal, and Divine. This is a replacement for a Petragon that I bred, which actually has better passives. I think that isn't the one that I bred. This is the one that I bred. Better passives, but this one has abysmal stats, and I just didn't really know to think about that when breeding. So I'm not going to keep using this one, just because the stats are so bad, and I don't want to spend all the fruits on that to get it up to a good state. Also, though, I learned that the natural ones, they just have way more hit points than the ones that you breed, for some reason. So, yeah, you don't really want to breed these. What you want to do is have a... every time you log out or log in, it unsets that. I always want to set. You want to get a Yakumo with good movement stats and breed it specifically for movement-oriented pals, and then use it to catch your Jetragon. That's the way to get a good Jetragon. And I have another Yakumo for catching fighting types, and another Yakumo for catching craft types. I probably should have had artisan and work slave on this as well, but I don't. And right now there isn't a point in fixing that. But yeah, you kind of want to have a few Yakumos around just for catching pals, depending on what you're going for. You can see I have all these up to 4-star. Birds of a Feather, it really has a nice boost as you level it up. So this is roughly what you want your Yakumos to look like. For a long time, my Anubis was my main combat pal. So this is still quite a good Anubis. It just is a general purpose fighter. But in the late game, generic fighting pals are not going to do it for you. You want to have things specific to what you're doing, and you also want to have good weapons for yourself. I resisted this for the longest time, but at some point, you kind of have to commit to doing a lot of the damage yourself. I lucked out and got a legendary bow. I actually really struggled with the POW tower here. I made it through all the rest okay, without a whole lot of difficulty. But fighting the Fabric Tower not raid boss, the Fabric Tower boss, it was such a tough fight. I had to breed for it. I had to arm myself for it. I just died many times with generic pals. Even with Yormentide Igni, Hey, let me show you my main base. Even with Yormentide Igni that I thought were pretty good, it was not doing the job. I wasn't able to win in 10 minutes. It wasn't that I was getting wiped out, but 10 minutes was not enough to do all the damage that I needed to do. Here's my expedition thing. I have it kind of hanging off the side of my base here. Just start another expedition. Off you go. You always want to have one of those going once you have decent enough pals to run those. It doesn't have to be any particular expedition, but you gain so much from doing those that you should never not have that. Oh, so the underside of the base, I don't use the ground level, largely because I was worried about being raided. So my entire base is raised up on stilts, which works out pretty well. Yeah, it's just nice to not need to worry about anything going on the ground. You don't need to do fights. You're just entirely safe. But, so I have my entry area here, the PAL box. I have beds for all the pals, and one of my two, what are they called? One of my two hot springs here. I have my own bed down here. I keep all my spirit gear and meds here. Oh, why did these end up here? Anyhow. And my production area. And all the passive production boosts go here as well. And here I have this partly hanging off the edge of my base just because otherwise it just takes up way too much room. I don't have walls. We move up. This is the main independent pal doing stuff area. This is where I keep the guild chest. Actually drop off the food and the pal souls. I want to have these accessible from any base. Oh yeah. Okay, and so I have ranches. Really, building a ranch very early on, you want to do it just to start on that passive accumulation of stuff. Just over the long run, however, if you're going to be playing for a long time, the passive build of stuff that will be useful, it's in your favor. You don't even have to breed them up. I have bred mine up. These are actually pretty nice multi-star pals. And in particular, getting a Vixie up to a high level, the number of free pal spheres that you're going to get from that really will make a difference. It's super helpful. later on in the game it becomes a little less helpful, but for most of the game, having a max star Vixie, it will just make everything better. Now, when you do have 3 ranches, you want to have a lot of pals dedicated to moving stuff around, just because it's kind of a pain in the butt. They produce lots and lots of stuff, including stuff you no longer care about, like arrows. I once cared about arrows, but just you pass by the initial bow so early that eventually arrows become useless. But the number of gold coins, the number of just so many things that you get passively from a high-level Vixie, it's very nice. Have some of these storage things, very useful. Keep dropping stuff off. You know that you do want to put on restrictions on what chests can hold, and that just helps you have a nice, orderly, non-messy progression through the area. Now, the rules for support are really quite bizarre. I think once you have pillars, they don't actually have to directly connect. I don't fully understand the rules. Let me just put these away. Probably won't replace them right now because it takes a little bit of thought to decide on your strategy for getting the really good passive, or not passive, the active skills that you want. Whoops. Okay. And we will put these away. Good. Ooh. Nice. Okay, I was hoping to get some random terms of that. This is the first time I've gotten Blizzard Spike. Let's actually, though, while we're here, I don't need to put a lot of thought into this. I know I'm going to want to start replicating this. So. Problem with these, with the Palfruit trees, is that they take a whole lot of watering and it'll distract your production pals from other things. So I have one box for blues, one for greens, and one for purples. But yeah, it's just a nice, fairly simple design for a base. Got some farms going on, some cooking going on. It's very easy for me to produce tons of cake for breeding. But minestrone is my main food. And I just produce tons of it. I have another hot spring up here. Another thing that you're going to want to do is max out all the relevant bits of PAL research for raiding. Initially I was skipping this because I wasn't sure if I was going to be doing raiding. But yeah, fighting raid bosses, it really makes sense, and for that you really want these passives. The defense power and attack power at base. Now, you might be a little weirded out to see that the egg hatching speed boosts from Kindling, I'm not using them, but this is one of those changes in the game rules. With this playthrough, I spent so much time breeding in the previous game that I knew I wasn't going to play through again if I had to do all that again. Because I had that exact same breeding base in my last game. I had like probably 30 or 40 hatching stations. And I was just spending way too much time running between them, and I had chests full of eggs that were waiting to go in. I just decided I'm going to reduce the time needed for eggs to 0. My eggs will instantly mature, and I just decided I'm not interested in engaging with that aspect of the game again. And I think it actually was much better with that. I just found it to be so much of a hassle. Wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm being stupid. Okay, let's not be stupid. Drop this stuff off in the right chest. Again, food and giant pal souls go into the guild chest. Cool. Yeah, that's the base. This in a nice area of the nice sub area of the new area, on just one of those weird little floaty islands that looks kind of like a mushroom cap. Oh yeah, so how did I beat Bjorn? I think that's worth just briefly mentioning, just because you might struggle with it in the way that I struggled with it. Did I put everything away? The way I did it, I didn't really want to do the, some people, they'll breed Gobfins a lot. And Gobfins have a really nice passive, where they passively increase your attack power if they're in the party. They don't have to be out, they just have to be in your party. If you breed them up to level 5, I think it's like a 20% increase. That's cool. But I don't want to be stuck with really only one pal. Or maybe have everybody but a Gobfin. Everybody is a Gobfin apart from one pal. Didn't want to do that. I did use the Ragnarok strategy though, where this changes your attack type to fire and boosts your attack. That is really good against Bjorn because he's ice type, so he's weak to fire attacks. So I mostly used a 5-star high-level Ragnarok. It worked pretty well. And when the Ragnarok needed a break because he was taking too much damage, I still had a number of high-level Roman-type Igni. Perhaps not these. I think I'm currently sorting by level. Yeah, so you can see these Yormantide Igni. They're 4-star. Most of them are boosted to plus 60. Big Joe is only boosted to level 49. Probably should boost to level 60 if I end up doing anything more significant in the game. But having, I think it was 3 of these, my Galeclaw, and then using primarily the Ragnarok, that worked. And with that, I used primarily the advanced bow that I just lucked out and got the legendary version. That ended up being a viable strategy. Made it through, wasn't too bad. It was actually surprisingly good. I think I just had this, I was stuck in this mentality of wanting my pals to do most of the damage. And you don't want to do that. You actually have to break yourself of that mentality. Be used to doing damage. Gear yourself up to survive, because you always have to do that. Any boss you fight, it'll just occasionally turn its attention to you, and then you better at least be willing to get out of the way. But when you're fighting tower bosses, you also have to be used to the idea that you only have 10 minutes to do them. If you can't put out enough damage in that time period, then you're going to just immediately die at the end of 10 minutes. You don't want that. Belenoir Libero is, again, pretty difficult to breed because it's mostly female. Also, nothing breeds into it, so you face the difficulty of, if you want to have nice passives, you're going to have to luck out and get them yourself, like legendary passives. And so that means you're going to be breeding a lot. But the super high stats are nice. Unfortunately, the dark type limits the use of the PAL. Because dark is only good against neutral PALs. And that's not a particularly interesting weakness. Because near the end of the game, most PALs have a non-neutral neutral type. But, yeah, nothing super interesting. No. Okay. Well, I've just started breeding them. Did I get any males? No, all female. Yeah, again, that's the hard part of breeding these. You can breed them down into a regular Belenoir if you want one for some reason. I might do that once I have a Belenoir, a Libero, that has some really nice passives. But but unfortunately, Bella Noir Libero is generally strictly superior. So you don't really want to. I wouldn't spend too much time on breeding down into a regular Bella Noir. Even I think they have identical stats, but the Libero just has some better unique moves. Anyhow, this is Palworld. This is kind of my late game tips and tricks. I've been having a really good time with it, but eventually you exhaust all the content in any game you play. Then you have to decide, am I done? And I think I'm mostly done. I've really enjoyed my time with the game, though. If you have any thoughts, comments, tips, you can leave it. I might respond, I might not. But that's the game. So let's wrap things up. The music's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. Ciao.